invest in daughters, sisters, and wives. They're gonna change our lives. In women, in girls. They'll make a better world. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. And now here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Welcome to the Invest in Her podcast series. You know, we always interview amazing founders and funders. And today we have on the incredible TED consultant, Tabby Biddle. I just did a TED Talk thanks to Tabby. She's an amazing coach, and we are so happy to have her on today. Welcome to the show, Tabby.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, you and I have known each other for quite a few years now because we're kind of in the same women's empowerment space. And I know today we're going to focus on TED Talks because so many people ask me about how do they do a TED Talk? How do they get on a TED stage? Why should they do it? And all the components of that. And so I'm excited to talk to you about that today. But first, let's give a little round overview of who you are and all the amazing things that you're doing. I know we've collaborated on many of them, and just want to give people an idea of how you are just a woman that's all about women's empowerment. And I love that.
Oh, well, thank you. It's, real honor.
Let's talk about all the things you did. We were introduced through mutual friends, as most people connect, and I'd wanted to do a TED Talk, and that's how we started connecting. But then we also worked on your initiative, which was 50 Women Can Save the World in Television and Entertainment.
Can change the world in media and entertainment.
There we go. And you know, that's an initiative that you have been involved in and many others. So let's talk about all the things that you're doing to empower women before we focus on the TED.
Sure. Yeah. So the initiative that you were involved in, I was the co-founder of 50 Women Can Change the World in Media and Entertainment. And the focus there was really on advancing women in Hollywood and the media and entertainment industry so that the storytellers were female, right? Because women are so underrepresented in the industry. And so the more stories, the more diverse stories that we see, right? The more we change culture to actually be representative of who we really are. So that was a big piece of my work over the last couple of years, which is now evolving into a new initiative, which I'll talk about in a moment to let your listeners in on kind of the early stages of it. But previous to all of that, I have been doing women's leadership coaching, both one-on-one and in group courses, as you know, because you took the TEDx course. And my focus for many years has been on amplifying the voices of women change makers, right? These are women who are challenging the status quo. They are women who are innovators and disruptors, entrepreneurs, and so forth, right? Women who are not towing the line of the patriarchy, women who know there is much more potential for equality and justice and humanity in our world. And through their work, they're bringing that forth into our world.
That's why we are very good friends.
That's exactly right.
We speak the same language, don't we? And I love the work that you're doing because there are so many disruptors and innovators out there that need the coaching to get their vision to come to fruition. And I know that you help many women do that.
Yeah, exactly. So my work really is based around the inner work to bring the outer work into fruition, right? Mm-hmm. So I have many years background as a yoga teacher and a healer and an educator. And I bring all that together into my women's leadership coaching. So we're really working from the inside out to help women find their voice, to create their platform, to step onto their platform confidently, and to take chances and to know that they have a network and a sisterhood of support around them, so they're not feeling so alone, right? Because many women, early on in, I say early on, meaning in the 80s and 90s, right? Women who were stepping into really high level leadership, they often felt very alone because oftentimes they were the only woman in the room, right? Or on set. And that led to a lot of women acting in ways that weren't necessarily natural for them, acting in more masculine ways, and then burning out or feeling isolated, right? So the work I do, while on an individual level, it's very much about the, as we said, the inner work for the woman. It's also on the collective level for women to know and feel that they're supported by other women who want to see them shine, who want to see them step out front with their, new business or invention or social justice campaign, whatever it might be.
And one of the best ways for people to champion their idea or their cause or their business is to step onto the TED stage. And so that's really where you come in. And little story, you and I went to hear one of the heads of TED speak.
The head.
The head of
Chris
TED.
Anderson. Mm-hmm.
Right, Chris Anderson. We went to go get his book and read about how the TED Talks got started and whatnot. And I loved it because you stood up and you asked him why there weren't more female TED speakers. And I love that you got into that niche of helping to train and coach women or consult with women about how to do their TED Talks, because people don't realize it is so different than any other type of talk. It has to be very specific. It has a specific type of criteria and a way to message it. And then, of course, getting yourself booked on a TED event is not easy. Thanks to you, I, of course, have done my TED Talk and it's out there. And I had that opportunity and I couldn't have done it without you. So that's why I wanted to have you on the show and just sing your praises and say, you helped me to put that message that I had about how underfunded women are and how we need to change that and how we're going to change that. In my talk, Fund Women, Save the World. And I just really applaud you that is your mission, is to help more women create their TED Talks and get on that TED stage. So tell me about what he said about that. Let's share that with the audience.
Yeah, that was quite a moment. I was nervous, truth be told. I was nervous to step up and kind of confront him publicly about this. And I did not like his response at all. He said that he didn't want to have token speakers. And as soon as he used that word token, I cringed and I felt all the other women around me, including yourself, cringe at that. That is the most infuriating title or word used.
Like, in other words, he was saying, we're not just going to put on a woman just because we need more women. And
yeah, like undervaluing by using that word token.
Yeah,
it insinuates a lack of value.
Right.
For that person that they're going to put on there, right? And so
like there's not a lot of prolific women that have amazing ideas to share out there. Like there's really no excuse that there wasn't more and aren't more women. So that became a mission of yours.
It became a mission of mine. And so I, previous to attending that event with you, I had begun on this mission. It really begun from my own experience of giving a TEDx talk. I was at an event where there were 11 speakers total and only 3 women. And I was speaking amongst the former CEO of Apple, the head of the Mayo Clinic, New Jersey governor, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, some incredible folks. And there were only 3 women. And I thought, this is ridiculous. You're kidding. This was back in 2015. But is this really still happening? I just couldn't believe that in 2015, this was really still happening. We've been talking about it forever and ever about, you need to bring equality to public speaking stages. And so what I did is I began to sniff around, investigate what's going on at other TEDx events. Like, was this an anomaly, or is this going on at other TEDx events? And sure enough, what I found is there was complete gender inequality at multiple TEDx events, and the organizers who I'd spoken with, or the speaker, both organizers and speakers, they had shown me that there was this gender inequality. And so I thought, this can't go on. I'm not going to stand by and watch this go on. I've given a TEDx talk. I've been coaching women and giving signature talks for a number of years. My work is about helping women find their voice and amplify their voice. I'm going to put my own course together to support more women to get onto the TEDx stage. And one of the things, Catherine, is I had, during my investigation, I looked into why is the TED organization saying that there are fewer women? Because not only on the TEDx stage, it's also on the main TED stage. The first reason they said was that women were harder to find. Number two, they said women were more likely to say no than men when they were invited to speak on the stage. And number three, they said women were more likely to cancel than men after being given a spot to speak. So I heard those reasons and I wasn't sure if I really believed them. But whether they were true or not, what I decided is that I wanted to create a course and a system so that these three reasons could never be used again for why there were so few women on TEDx and TED stages. So what I did is I put together a course called Women on the TEDx Stage, to support women through the process of writing their talk and finding a TEDx stage that was a good match for them. And the first group I put on, I think there were 30 women. And then I eventually grew that to 50 women. And then I was running the course several times a year. And, it kind of grew from there. And Catherine, as you know, you went through one of the courses and
twice.
Oh, yes, that's right. You went through twice. Right. Yeah. And for some women, that's the case because it's a process. It's an 8-week. I switched it back. At one point, it was a 6-week course. Then I moved it into an 8-week course because I realized that women do need more time. There's a lot of processing that goes on. This isn't just writing a straightforward talk. There's a lot of, what you're coming forward with. This is your life's work, right? This is your life history and your life's work, and your life's mission, right? All encapsulated in these, in many cases, the talks, yours was 10 minutes, right? TED Talks are 18 minutes or less, but over the years, they've gotten shorter and shorter, just as our attention spans have reduced. And many organizers now are just offering spots between 8 and 12 minutes for talks. So I'm having to work with women to make them, from the start, shorter talks. So there's a lot of layers to the process, and it's a lot of inner work as well as the outer work of actually writing your talk.
Mine was actually 12 minutes of Fund Women Save the World. And I will say it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I'm really glad I did it. It was something I always wanted to do. I felt like I had to remember, as you would say, that it's about the message and the purpose and not about you. And so it's really important to remember that. And you teach techniques of how to write it, how to memorize it, how to book it. There's so many levels and components to it. And like I said, I'm really grateful. I'm grateful that you cheered me on and gave me all the tools and helped me to coif the talk. And, I know I went through the first workshop and I thought I was ready, but then I was so busy putting on events and whatnot. It is very time consuming. So it was actually good this year to have the COVID downtime to focus on my talk and actually get it out there. And so I did your workshops, I did your one-on-one, and I just wanted to share your resource with everybody, because a lot of people ask me, how did you do your TED Talk? And I say, check out tabbybiddle.com, because she is the best of the best in this niche to help you. She knows exactly what they're looking for and how to make this talk, because it's such a different talk. Many people are speakers, and it's such a different talk than a regular talk where you're just extemporaneously talking to people. And it has to have a certain format. Of course, you can't talk about your specific business. It has to be your ideology that you're sharing. What is it called? Ideas worth sharing, right?
Ideas worth spreading.
Oh, worth spreading.
Your idea worth spreading.
Right. And it's supposed to be your idea that you feel that download that you're supposed to be talking about, something that you're passionate about, that you really think will impact the planet by giving that message. And so, so I encourage anybody to do their TED Talk if they feel called to do that. It's not for everybody, but it was challenging and so gratifying at the same time, super gratifying.
And you did great, Catherine. I'm so excited for everyone to watch and hear your talk.
Thank you. What are some of the talks, just to give people an idea of people that you've worked with? What were some of the talks that you've helped to develop?
Yeah. So let's see, who comes to mind right away? Natasha Johnson. The title of her talk is What Feminism Looks Like When It Starts at 5. And she actually means 5, like 5 years old. She is the founder of an organization that educates people on genital mutilation in the US and how to eradicate it, to stop that practice.
I heard that talk. It was phenomenal.
Phenomenal, right? And she presented it. I mean, it's a heavy topic. However, she presented it in a way that was accessible, inviting, very, personable, and gave individuals a way to actually get engaged where they could be part of the solution. And it's a topic that maybe some people never even think about. And others of us who work in women's rights and women's empowerment, we do think about it, but it can feel so overwhelming that we don't quite know how we can help. Well, she's an attorney and an activist. And I just thought she so beautifully took us on a journey to really understand this topic and how we could.
What blew me away about her talk was that I learned that this was prevalent in the US. I'm thinking this is prevalent somewhere else in the world. Who knew? I mean, it was really enlightening and educational about how to change this as well. So yeah, that was an amazing talk, and one everybody should listen to.
Another one I'll mention that comes to mind is Keely Heron, who lives in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So I failed to mention, Natasha spoke at TEDx. It was in Brooklyn. I'm forgetting the name, but it was very specific to the neighborhood. But you can just look up Natasha Johnson TEDx talk. You'll find her. So the next one, Keely Heron, she spoke at TEDx Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And the title of her talk is The Cult of Happiness. And she gives a very personal talk about some very dramatic and traumatic incidents in her life that happened that were never really accepted to process publicly, right? And she kind of had to move into a space of like pretending everything's okay, it wasn't just one traumatic incident. There's a string of, and I don't want to give away the talk, but a string of traumatic incidents. And she's really arguing for the fact of like, forget about this cult of happiness, everything is fine. Like that is worse to our mental health. And how important she talks about stigma and how important it is to let go of the stigma of suicide attempts, suicide in the family, sexual assault, and so forth, right? Again, I don't want to give everything away of her talk, but it's a profound, that talk immediately garnered a ton of views. And I think it has over like 500,000 views now, with a lot of positive comments, supportive comments, and so forth. So that's a really rich one. And you know what? She's also humorous. She's funny. She brings some levity to it. And I think that's so important to mention, Catherine, is, you know, for folks who have an issue, which is, you know, a very important and can be heavy one, there is a way to bring in some levity for the audience and connect in that way. So if you have something that's really serious, don't feel scared away that, oh no, the audience isn't going to want to listen. Yes, there's a way to make it accessible for your audience.
And there's always people that identify with your story. That's why you tell it. And especially if it pertains to some outcome that helps change the world for the better. I was going to say, also, I just listened to Stacey Abrams' TEDx. It was fantastic. And while it was very moving, it also was funny as well. She's a great speaker as well. So for those that listen to TED Talks, you know, there's just a variety out there on every topic, every subject, from, like you say, domestic violence to science and, you know, technology, and very exciting topics. So no matter what you're looking for, there's a variety. With TEDx, let's explain how it works. So there's the main TED stage. It tends to be people like Brene Brown, like, you know, really top name people that you would know. And then there's TEDx, which are local events that could be featured on the TED platform, the main TED platform. And the TEDx events are locally organized events that you have more of a chance of getting to participate in, unless you're a well-known celebrity or Pulitzer Prize winner or whatever. But the average person that has a story to tell should look into the TEDx. And then there's TED Women, which is done in December in Palm Springs. Is TED Women, when was that developed? Before or after we had that discussion about the lack of women? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so that was established before. That was established, I think, around, and this, you'll have to double check me on this, but around 2010. And initially it was every 2 years. It wasn't even a yearly event.
Interesting.
So once again, what is this saying about women? And there was a big uproar, I have to say, from people in the community saying, I don't know if there should be a TED Women, and there were women even, you know, uproaring about this, saying, because that puts us, you know, in a separate, you know, in a way they felt that was downgrading, because why shouldn't we just be on the main TED stage in equality, right? Which is true. It was this fair argument. And then others loved the idea of TED Women because it was an opportunity for women to be speaking to majoritively other women, right? It was a wonderful sisterhood community and so forth. So that was every 2 years. Then they eventually, maybe around 2015, 2016, decided to have it as a yearly event. I don't know all the
After you stood up and asked about it.
Oh, that's interesting. Didn't connect those dots.
You might have perpetuated that, Tabby.
Could have, very well could have. And I don't know all the politics around that, but very well could have. And so it became a yearly event, and there are TEDx women events that happen concurrently around the same 2 weeks, let's say within a 2-week time parameter, as TED Women. And that's when, so TEDx women events, the organizers are only given licenses for to host a TEDx women event within that 2-week or so parameter of time around the main TED Women. So they're all kind of happening, you know, end of November, beginning of December.
Right. And that's what I participated in. And if the LA affiliate to the main TED Women, which was the Delthorne TEDx put on by organizer Arena Ferguson, who is amazing and wonderful. And so people can actually apply to put on a TEDx event and be an organizer, or they can apply to one of the local organizers to be a speaker. So you can be at a TEDx local event. You could be at the TED Maine Women's event in Palm Springs in December, or the Maine TED event. And does that take place in the same area every year, or is that different?
So it takes place in Vancouver in British Columbia, but let's just so we know for purposes here, for everyone to know, the TED Women this year was virtual, as well as as well as the TED, right? So none of those.
And every year you can attend the local events, the women's event, the main event. You can get tickets to any of those. However, like you said, this year has been unusual, and everything's been virtual. Yes,
that's right. That's right. Yeah. So I really encourage women to apply to TEDx events. Having worked with so many women, I know the usual inner thoughts that come up saying, well, am I qualified enough? Is anyone going to care about what I have to say? Can I really do this? Can I really write about this important idea or cause, within a 10 to 12 minute talk? Am I really going to be able to memorize it? Right. Like all these questions, which are very natural to have them come up. And the answer is yes, you can do it with support, with a sisterhood, or even just a couple of sisters of support. We need you to do this, right? The things that you care about, the issues that you care about, your life story, your lived experience is different than men. Okay, just is, because of who you are and how you grew up, right? And what your life's mission is, right? So even if someone has spoken on a topic that is the same or related to what you care about, that doesn't matter. You can still get up there and be a speaker, because the way you present it is going to be different than the way someone else has presented it, right? Simply because of who you are and your life experience and the lens that you have, which is different than anyone else's.
I love that. Everybody's story matters. And this is a wonderful platform to share your story. And if you don't want to do a TED Talk, you can always be a TED Talk listener. And if people haven't done that, they can go to TED and sign up to get the daily TED Talks. I know they come in my inbox every day, and I get to hear various TED Talks from various people. So if you can't get a ticket to the event, you can always go on YouTube, and at a later date after they've been at the event, they do come out on YouTube and you can see them there. So
and there's a specific TEDx YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if somebody wants to do a TED Talk, and I say someone, you do focus on coaching women, consulting with women. And so I know that's your purpose and your power and your passion is to elevate women. And I love that about you. And if there is a woman out there that feels she has a TED Talk in her, then I encourage her to go to tabbybiddle.com, find out about your consulting, either one-on-one or with your workshops. I know people, like I said, ask me all the time. So it is tabbybiddle.com. She is such a beautiful soul inside and out. And I have loved working with her, and can't encourage people enough that if they feel that calling, go for it, right?
Go for it. Yes, I agree.
Just do it, as Nike would say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being a guest, Tabby. I always say, remember to invest in her and make it a great week, and invest in yourself and do your TED Talk. All right. Take care. Thanks, Tabby.
Thank you, Catherine.
theme music was created and produced by Lindsay Tomasic.